can pick it.
Hold on. Up, ready, shop, go. Here we go.
Ready, shop, go. You can click it, pick it, click it. Anywhere online, schultzford.com. Hey, sounds like a walking, talking commercial.
Yeah, I was on vacation. I felt good.
Yeah, did you?
Oh, yeah, refreshed, recharged, all that.
What's the Dominican Republic like?
Warm and nice. High of 81, low of 71 every single day.
Warm and nice. You know, I know you use those words to describe me. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're synonymous with the weather in the Dominican Republic. People often ask me, they say, what's the weather like in the Dominican Republic? I said, just like Richard Bazzy's disposition. Warm and nice.
Oh, killing me. So welcome back.
Well, thank you very, very much. As the season travels into the last week, man, you know what? I know we'll talk about Damar Hamlin in just a little bit and a bunch of different serious things. Yeah. But one funny thing, you know, when the Steelers were 2-6, so they've gone 2-6 and then 6-2, and they arrive at 8-8. When they were 2-6, you told me they were still going to have a winning season. I
told you they were going to win out.
You did, and they might end up finishing 7-2. There is nothing more, like maybe unloading the dishwasher, perhaps doing laundry, that I despise more than giving you credit. But you were the lone holdout when they were 2-6 in this town, I swear, who said they're still going to have a winning season. Tomlin just won't have a losing season. Even when they were 2-6, I have to give you credit.
Well, thank you for that, because really, I believe in Mike Tomlin. I've never given up on Mike Tomlin. I said part of my logic at that point was that offensive line is going to grow just by being together. And you saw Najee praise them in the post-game interview. It was pretty cool, though, how he grabbed the mic and she was freaking out.
Oh, I know.
She was freaking out. Like, you can't do this. This is like, it's not in the script.
Like it was a piece of equipment from NASA he wasn't allowed to touch. Like, you had to have all this training to touch a microphone.
She was freaking out. And but you saw him thank the offensive line. So the offensive line did what it was supposed to do. Kenny Pickett, I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, he did great. He did great things. I wasn't sure he had that in him. That was my one question. And I'll be honest about it. But and I don't know if 2 drives define a future, but they certainly look like that he has the ability to do what everybody didn't know he could do. So I think you take that quarterback conversation to the table, because clearly this is our guy. And I thought the defense, I actually always thought the defense was going to be better, but how could you criticize the defense?
Well, to pick it for a second, you say, I don't know if 2 drives define something. Okay, I think of it this way. When we're in the middle of July and August and we think back, and no matter how this season turns out, you don't think about wins and how they happen. You just think, did he win the football game? At least that's how I think about it.
Well, I think that's right. In retrospect, I think that's an accurate statement. But you'd like to see it not quite. And again, I'm not blaming Kenny Pickett at all. I think the offense coming together and figuring itself out, even with the offensive coordinator, you know, you have the talented players, and figuring out how to put them all together and all the different personalities and abilities. You know, maybe Matt Canada, you're going to hate me. Maybe Matt Canada isn't going to go away, and maybe he should stay. What I'm doing, I think, is cushioning my belief that he won't be let go.
I think those are 2 different things. The belief that he will or won't be let go because of how the Steelers operate and what reality should be.
Yeah, I agree.
We're still looking at a team that doesn't score 20 points. But
they have a defense that doesn't give up 20.
Right. But then when you start to rely on that too much, that becomes burdensome, I think, to the defense.
I think that defense, Colin, I think that defense is going to grow and become the baddest-ass defense we've seen in this city for a long time, because we just need a couple little tweaks into that defense. We need a super healthy TJ Watt. We need some speed. We really need some speed on the outside. And it's going to be a shutdown defense. It really is.
I agree with you, but shouldn't it be okay to win a game 28-16 as opposed to 17-16?
And that's my point about the talents that we have. Think about the individual talents we have. George Pickens, when they do figure out how to use him the best way, because they haven't, he got the ball, he got the call in the end zone because everybody knew that Deontay was going to be doubled, and Pickens was the only open guy. So, but he does superhuman things, and when he's given more of a chance to do superhuman things, then who are you going to cover? Who's going to cover you? I mean, you can't cover Pickens and Deontay and Freiermuth and. I mean,
right.
And yes, it's been said, and I said it myself. Najee played lights out last week, lights out, and I don't think you could have asked for a better performance from him. My question is, where have you been? And I think I know that answer, right? It appears that, first of all, if you don't have an offensive line, I don't care how good you are. And when I watched that Franco Harris run, that line was as wide as the Liberty tunnels. Okay, it was, and he ran through it. And if it wasn't that way, he couldn't have done that. So you get your offensive line back glued together. You have Najee with the ability to do what he wants to do. I love number 30, and so I think now you have the groundwork. We're still winning using defense, but we can win now using offense in the next year in more of a collaborative way. That's my thought.
You talk about Jaylen Warren, number 30. I've thought about this, and this is one of the big stories going into next year. He should be in the offseason, provided he doesn't fumble 5 times in the Cleveland game. He should be one of the most comfortable people this offseason with his place on this football team, of everybody on this football team. He's also done this, which is virtually impossible to do. Mike Tomlin is one of the most hard-headed, some people say in a good way, individuals that I've ever come across. It's his way. He's not very pliable to change. He likes doing things his way. He has forced Mike Tomlin to go with 2 backs, unlike Mike Tomlin has never done before, and change philosophies. What Jaylen Warren has done and maybe will continue to do for this offense has been transcendent, has been total overhaul of this offense and a philosophy that a coach was unwilling to do, even when he had D'Angelo Williams in the past as a backup back, when he had different backs behind people. He had a guy who had done it in the league, in LeGarrette Blount, that he wouldn't give the ball to, and he walked out of town. Jaylen Warren has forced a guy to change philosophies. I think that's how important 2 backs are.
I don't know that I think that. I think that's how important these 2 backs are.
For this system, yes.
And I think the thing I really don't agree with is Mike Tomlin is a winner. He does not need forced to adopt this or change. He will win. He wants to win no matter what. He wants to evolve. He's been very willing to evolve. He's been very willing to also not evolve. Structurally, Mike Tomlin could run any business in this country. That's because that's what he's doing. He's running a business, one of 32 people in the world to have that job. And I
agree with that, but I at times wonder if he takes enough feedback and application from the people just below him. Ultimately, you're the coach. You need to make the decisions. You need to be the leader and the boss. But does he take enough feedback?
In his way, in his time. He can't take the feedback and react. He takes the feedback. Listen, when he's at home at night and his wife is doing what she's doing and he's sitting there doing what he's doing, or he goes to bed, these are his private times. That's when the stuff gets done. It doesn't get done because Richard Bazzy says it or anybody else says it. These things, it's not a point, in my opinion, as somebody that does run a business, you hear, you don't react, you listen, you ask input, maybe the people that you trust and respect, maybe that's your coordinators, And it might take, that's why he doesn't listen. Anybody else might have given up on Matt Canada a long time ago. Mike didn't, because he knows there's such a ripple effect of making such a magnanimous change like that. And so he didn't. So what you think he may not see, he sees. What you think he may not do, he does. And so I just think it's running a business that he's doing. And I think he is willing to do that. He didn't give up on Najee. He could have, but he didn't. So I think, it really comes back to the assessment of talent, which he's done. He made a great comment about Kenny Pickett. We were proximity helped us, make the decision. And he sat with Kenny and talked to Kenny. He knew what was inside Kenny. So I think there's a lot. Mike Tomlin's like an onion. He's got so many different layers. And I have seen this year, I'm talking way too much, by the way.
No, I like this. Continue.
But Mike Tomlin, I think, as that onion showed right from the beginning of the season, how different he was going to be. He got an account on Instagram. He started to be young and cool and hip and relevant, and Najee became part of his family, basically. And I think Mike is really good guy. I think his family's fabulous. And I think the way that integrates into the Pittsburgh Steelers whole system is really what makes him who he is. He's not going to have a losing season. He's not.
It doesn't look like it. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to think Cleveland's going to come in here and win. Will the Steelers make the playoffs? That's a different story. Will they have a losing season? I think they're going to go 9-8.
Yeah,
if they go 9-8, here's the question. Let's say they go 9-8 and the other two things don't happen, and they go 9-8 and they miss the playoffs. Would Richard Bazzy call it a successful season?
Absolutely. You replaced the franchise quarterback. You had a lot of changes. You came and don't underestimate the impact that Dwayne Haskins' loss had on that team, the emotional impact. And I mean, don't underestimate it. I really think that had a lot to do with like an emotional cloud over a lot of people. And if you don't think that's true, just look at even the way, and I'll segue into
Damar Hamlin, yeah,
Damar Hamlin, and look at the wave of sadness and the way it puts everything in perspective, and it doesn't become about the game anymore. And I think that Dwayne Haskins tragedy, as it was a tragedy, I think that really had an early season impact on this team.
I think that's something that's forgotten about by a lot of people.
Yeah, I think
and the impacts that it did or could have had on this football team. And you bring up a really good point. It's someone who they grew close to.
Yeah.
To the Damar Hamlin situation, it was chilling. It's something I've never seen before in all of sports. I saw it in a soccer match before. It was on television, same thing. Yeah. But I'd never seen it in a football game. It's chilling. I don't need to watch it again. I don't want to watch it again. I just hope that he ends up being okay to live a regular, normal life. I don't even care about football at this point. But it is, it was really something.
And people may not like this, but it's also important to really identify. Remember John Patrician? We talked about him before.
Yeah.
115 ESPN. He's being interviewed about this. And for those of you that are watching this late, this today is Wednesday at 1:15. So
right.
This is interview, and I'm sure you can watch it online again. But I think it's important to really understand what happened. I don't want to watch it again either. I mean, because it's so tragic. But is it a football problem? Is it a medical problem? I think it's important to know that, because, we say it's not even, football is meaningless compared to this. That's true. I agree with that. But, oh God, forgive me. But
I do think it's important to find out the root of what caused this.
Yeah, I do too. Because, we tend to, like, it sounds so wrong, and I don't want it to sound wrong, but we choose what we do, and there's many risks that go with that. And I'm not by any means mitigating any part of that and the seriousness. And I'm just not. But it's important because I'd like to know if it was something in the game that caused it or if it was something that was a medical issue for him. And I really want to know that because I think that's the only way you can help people.
Well, no, it's true, and it's not touchy or anything. It's just wholly accurate to say there are inherent risks with everything you do, whether you're a race car driver, a football player, somebody who's a skydiver, whatever. Risks come in direct proportion to the vocation that you choose. It's different. If you're a football player, you have inherent risks that are different than if you're an insurance salesman. It's just that's the case.
But let me ask you this, because this is one question. First of all, I don't know what anybody else thinks. I heard there was some negativity, but I thought Troy Aikman and Joe Buck handled it masterfully. I thought that ESPN handled it masterfully.
Booger, I thought Lisa Salter and them were absolutely great.
Yeah, me too. And Booger, I have a hard time with that name, but Booger, brilliant, just brilliant. Because it was all organic and it was pure.
Well, it had to be organic. There's no way they rehearsed for that. There's no way that there are times in which you practiced that. It was all, and I thought that Ryan Clark was spectacular.
Yeah, I thought
in the things that he said. No, there's no blueprint. There's no game plan. There's no turn the page to this. There's that whenever the lights go out. There's that whenever there's a rain delay or a lightning delay. There's not that whenever somebody gets CPR on the football field.
Yeah. And so my question to you and to anybody is, it became an immediate tragedy. Immediate. What did they see that we didn't, that made it, that they knew immediately this was really bad? What did they see and we?
It's interesting you asked that question because I've asked former NFL players this very same question. And I also asked the head of emergency medicine at AGH that question, who she has been on those teams that are doctors at games. The first tipping point was when both teams' medical providers began to work on Hamlin. That is the first tipping point. If you see that, not just one training staff, but both medical staffs coming together, that means it's serious business. Whenever the Bengals and the Bills people began to work on somebody who played for the Bills, that was what both the players and the medical professionals told me. Generally we don't cross team lines, but whenever it was all hands on deck from both teams, that typified to everybody watching who was a football player or was a medical provider that had been in that situation before. This isn't run of the mill. This isn't normal. This isn't average when those two teams work together. That's what tipped it off.
But what took both teams? What did they see? Is it that he become unconscious?
Oh, yeah, immediately. And he wasn't breathing. And so that said, and this is something that was also told to me, training camp is for everybody. Everybody has it. They go through that exact scenario at training camp at St. Vincent, down on the south side. If a player isn't breathing for whatever reason, here's what you do. You summon the ambulance. Here's what you do. You call ahead to the emergency room and let them know we're coming. Here's what you do. You tell the police escort, get ready, we're coming up there. Here's what you do. You clear his airway or try to. Here's what you do. You get the IED. Here's what you do. You get the backboard to load them on. And everybody has a role. And it's practiced and hopefully never used, but it's practiced for that very reason. And everybody did their job to a T.
So, wow. Talk about leadership in the NFL.
Yeah, that wasn't something that was off the cuff the other day. That was a rehearsed procedure.
Wow, that's really impressive. And it does elevate. The NFL really is a very special organization, like it or hate it. But it really is. I didn't know they did that. And because I saw that they did that, because it's what they did. But I didn't know that it was rehearsed. I didn't know it was part of 32 teams protocols. But how brilliant was that? Because clearly, as the reports have indicated, the way it was handled is the reason that he survived it.
Yes, and all the way down to this person summons the ambulance driver. This person gets someone's parents if they want to go or whoever's with them, and they have so much time to get to the ambulance if they'd like to go. This other person tips off the police because we need a police escort to get the heck out of this stadium and through this parking lot, all the way down to that. And it is practiced, and it's a dry run practiced a couple different times in hopes that they never have to use it. And from the doctor that I talked to said it's just muscle memory that kicks in, and your training kicks in, and you remember what you're supposed to do, and you just do it. And
wow. Very cool.
It's chilling to hear that, really.
Very cool. Very cool. It is. But it's
and
very
also, one more thing to this, Richard. It's one thing for an emergency room physician or a physician like that, or training staff, to essentially play a home game, especially an emergency room technician or a medicine person inside the hospital. Keep in mind, those people are also performing in front of 70,000 people in a national television audience that they generally don't do that.
wow.
Talk about pressure, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. There are so many miracles on this that have occurred, and I just continue to pray for him. And you know, I'm thirsty for information because I do care. And he's not just a football player, but he's a Pittsburgh product. And you know, he's a good guy. My daughter's fiance is pretty close to him. They played at Central, I think, together. And he started his charity, his fund, on the Bubba Show.
Right.
And so he's got a lot of history with a lot of us, and he's such a great kid. So we love you, we pray for you, and we hope to see you back on the field.
All right. So that's that. Another wonderful week. We will talk.
Pittsburgh by 10.
Pittsburgh by 6.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I'll bet you